YouTube, what the Suebi is going on? So, HeirofCarthage here, and yes, we're going to be talking about the Suebi here. This is not a faction focus, I guess. This is just more of a, I guess you know what? I don't know what I'm going to call this. Think of a name for this. And if you all can think of a name for what it is that I'm doing here in this episode, it'll probably become a series as I'll try and do it with other factions. Basically what I'm here to do is to give you a little insight. Now, I know I did the faction focus, but the faction focus was more of a quick overview. Again, this is going to be an insight into specifically how to use a Suebi scare army. So, yeah, it's more of a strategy deal here rather than a faction focus. And the strategy, of course, in this case, focuses solely on the Suebi. I've gotten a lot of questions about this ever since I've done these scare armies with Egypt, and some of you have been asking me to do it with Suebi. Well, when I first tried the scare armies with Suebi, it didn't go so well. My armies fell apart, they're kind of weak, and I wasn't quite sure what to bring. And I really spent some time in custom battles, just fighting against the AI, trying to learn a little more about the unit abilities and how they work. And I think I've got some good information for you all. So what I'm going to do here is give you a combination of some explanation here on this battle or custom battle screen. Also, I'll actually go into a custom battle and demonstrate a few things, and then I'll actually show you a replay where I got to use this against another human. Now, I'm only going to get to show you one replay where I've used it against another human, and to be quite honest, whenever I show you how to do this, the cat's going to be kind of out of the bag, so people might know what to expect. So, being able to pull this off repeatedly is going to probably take some degree of stratagem. But in any case, let me show you what it is that I've learned. So let's talk about the Suebi and how this strategy works. So again, I just told you it's a scare build, so you need to bring scare units. Now, with this particular build, typically I'm going to focus on Wolf Warriors, which, in order to use these guys, you actually have to have the, the Beast of War pack. There is a way to do it without the Beast of War unit, the Wolf Warriors, but I think that they're quite good at it for a particular reason, and I'll show you what that reason is. So yes, why the Wolf Warrior? Why not Bloodsworn? Why not Berserkers? Bloodsworn would be a viable substitute, especially since they're so cheap, and you may be wondering, well, they're crap, they're so cheap. Yes, I know they're crap. We're not here to discuss how they're crap. The Suebi have some ways of getting around units being crap, and I think that's what's going to be exciting here. The main reason why I don't like Bloodsworn for this is because all they have is Frenzy and not Headhunt. Now, Frenzy is better than nothing, but if you'll notice, this Wolf Warrior actually comes with Headhunt, which is much more beneficial, in my opinion, as far as the benefits that it gives your unit. Now, Berserkers are great for this. I mean, just great. They're fantastic. They're strong. They've got a really good charge. They've got an insane bonus versus infantry, but they're few in number, and they're pretty expensive. They're not overwhelmingly expensive, but they're pretty expensive to bring a lot of them. And they come with Frenzy and Headhunt, and they scare units and have Berserk mode. So when you're going to be using the Suebi Scare Army, and here's the thing to understand about scare units. So when you bring a scare unit, there's several different types of scares that can be implemented. Let's take a look at the Wolf Warriors, for instance, because this is a unit that scares nearby units. If you look right here, this trait down here says Scare Everyone. This unit frightens all enemy units, and what that means is all enemy units within the circle of its influence, and I will show you that circle when we get onto the battle map. So this unit scares other units when they come inside that circle. Now, bringing 5 Wolf Warriors does not make it 5 times the scare if all of them get close to other units. That scare is only applied once, even if there's 5 units within that range. It has to be a different type of scare effect. So for instance, a different type of scare effect I can show you would be if we go over here to Rome. Well, actually, it wouldn't be different. So say, for instance, you have a scare unit with Egypt, like the Sobek Cultist, and people think, oh, you can stack it with elephants. I even thought that for a while. You can't, because the elephants have the same Scare Everyone trait. The same trait won't stack on top of itself. I think that's the biggest thing to understand here. The same trait won't stack on top of itself. Now, if you come over here and look at like a longbowman, for instance, it has Flaming Shot. Flaming Shot is a different trait, and if you look at the red writing there, it says damage, reload time, cannot be used in... Oh, no, never mind, sorry. Look at the green writing. It says lowers enemy morale. So this is a different morale-lowering thing. So flaming arrows can stack with Scare Everyone. Does that make sense? And then the other type of scare that you're typically going to see is, let's go to, I think Parthia's got him. Parthia has camel cataphracts here, and you'll notice that they have one that's called scare horses. So if I had a scare everyone unit, like an elephant or one of those infantry, plus a camel nearby, a horse unit would actually experience 2 scare penalties there. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try and clear that up for you. A scare effect is a passive effect. You don't have to activate it like a general ability. It's just a passive effect that affects any unit that comes within that radius. So again, hopefully that makes sense. So how would you use a Suebi scare army? Well, there's one other big important key in my opinion to using the Suebi scare army. Remember when I covered the Suebi in the faction focus, I told you that they had an extra general ability that's unique to their faction, and it's called Ariovistus. He was a historical commander for them. It gives them the ability to use, or it gives them 2 special abilities when you pick it, and it's called Pride and Fast Charge. So let's study a little bit about these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring some Roman opponents here. Just a couple of token infantry. Now this is just the AI, so again, I'm not meaning this to be like conclusive necessarily, but it'll be a demonstration. I'm going to bring 2 Roman Evocati cohort with their general, and then I'm going to bring... I think we all know that in the right situation, Berserkers could pretty much beat Evocati cohort. So 2 Evocati cohort cost about the same as 3 Wolf Warriors, so I'll bring 3 Wolf Warriors. The Wolf Warriors are actually a little cheaper. So what I'm going to do here is a quick demonstration. The Romans are the attackers, I'm the defenders. Let's go into the battle map and let me explain a little bit more about these general abilities and also be able to show you the radius of influence on a scare unit. And hopefully this will help you all understand how you have to use a scare army when you're on the battlefield to maximize its potential. It doesn't mean you have to do it this way to win. I just think that these things will help you maximize your potential. So we'll get this loaded up. Good old Nemeticina, Rome's version of the grassy barflands. Alright, so it's so washed out on this map too, like this time of day, like the color's all washed out, like an old faded pair of jeans or something. So let's go ahead and start the battle. If you take a look at my general, when I select him, it's really hard to see because of this coloring on this map. Okay, when I hold the spacebar, you can see it. See this blue circle? You can barely see it here in the grass, but that blue circle extends all the way around him. There's a similar, yet probably smaller circle around these Wolf Warriors. It's not visible, but something similar to that is how their scare effect works. So let's pretend this general had the scare effect, and let's pretend this blue circle is the range of that effect. So it means that any enemy unit within that range has that scare everyone trait applied to it. Now again, let me clarify, the Wodenaz Spears do not have a scare effect. They do have an encourage ability, which works similar to the scare effect, except it's the opposite. This unit provides morale bonus to nearby allies. So anybody in this blue circle actually receives a morale bonus. So if we look at this Wolf Warrior, and then let it come down here, it says eager, flanks secure. But they're receiving some small morale bonus passive. You're not going to see it in their actual stats. It's a passive bonus because of this Wodenaz Spear being here. The scare effect works the same as I explained, except opposite. It applies to enemy units rather than your own. I am going to pause it for just a second. Let's talk about these abilities again. If you take a look at the general abilities, Fast Charge here says first phase speed, second phase speed charge, and speed, charge speed, and charge bonus. So in the first phase, it's going to make your men run faster. The first phase, I've timed it, lasts for 15 seconds. That's a pretty long time in a battle, especially in Rome 2. 15 seconds is a pretty long time. It's like a decent chunk of the battle because they seem to be pretty fast. So when you used Fast Charge, the main reason you want to use it is because it's going to give you a huge charge bonus. Huge, okay? And I mean big. I'll show it to you. But if you use Fast Charge without having at least 15 seconds prior to charging the enemy, your charge bonus will come after you've already made the charge. So it's very, very critical that you engage Fast Charge 15 seconds at least prior to engaging the enemy. The second phase actually lasts for longer than you would think, so allow yourself some time. So in a real battle, I'm going to do just this. I'm just going to sit here because these abilities take a minute to be able to use within the battle, so don't rush towards your opponent. Keep your distance. Let these abilities become available. It takes 1 minute when the battle starts. They're now available. The Romans are close enough. You can see it has an area of influence, so make sure all your units are within that area when you click it. All of my men are now under the influence of Fast Charge. Actually, I'm still a little too close to the Romans for it to take effect, so I'm actually going to back up a little. You can hold the mouse over your units and wait, and when your charge bonus jumps up, you know you're in the second phase. Again, you want to be close enough to the enemy. Okay, my charge bonus is up, so it's time to take action. I'm going to give some charge orders and some flank orders with these guys. The last ability that your general has is Pride, which increases your weapon damage massively. So you want to use it before your units get too far away from your general for it to affect them. So now my men have a giant damage bonus and a giant charge bonus. You want to keep your general close to support your units, and then you want to pop Headhunt on your Wolf Warriors as soon as they get into combat. I am going to take my general over here to engage the... Look at that, Evocati cohort already wavering. Down 60 men to Wolf Warriors. Routing. That's how big the charge is on these units. It is massive. Huge charge. Now, the longer the fight goes on, your men will eventually lose all these special bonuses, and they will become much more vulnerable. It is extremely critical that you get the most punishing, the most damaging charge as possible right off the bat, because if the fight carries on for too long, your men will lose all their special abilities, and the playing field will start to be leveled. So part of a scare army is to do the damage quick and decisively. So you see how I outflanked the Romans. Now, overall, my army here was just a little bit more expensive than the Romans because they brought that general bodyguard and I brought a Wodenaz spear. What I was trying to demonstrate, though, is that the infantry units involved, the 3 Wolf Warriors, were cheaper than the 2 Evocati cohort, which means it's a guaranteed outflank. Now, what if your opponent doesn't choose Evocati cohort? It doesn't make a whole lot of difference because the Wolf Warriors are cheaper in general. Now, Air, wouldn't you still bring some Berserkers from time to time? Absolutely I would, because in general the Suebi army is going to be a little cheaper. Berserkers are fantastic because they have a massive charge bonus even without that. Now I want you all to see some of these stats because they're so staggering. I'm going to bring a couple of different units to show you what fast charge and pride can do for some of these. I'm going to just bring a few different units. I'll bring a Berserker here and a Swordmaster. Just some different units that the Germans can field, or the Suebi, sorry. Let's go back onto the battle map, and I want to, again, just show you all what kind of devastating statistics these units can have when you use these abilities properly. And this is how the Suebi need to operate. They really depend on these abilities and the scare effect. You need this. Otherwise, they're just a very shaky faction, very difficult to use. And there's still some precautions that you have to take to use them properly, and I can answer your questions about that in the comments if you don't get the answer to it here. Okay, let's fast forward because, again, see how these are cooling down? When they start the battle, it takes 60 seconds for those to become available, so keep your distance from your opponent. And you're also going to notice that I'm in like a really blobby formation. This is very dangerous if your opponent brings artillery, and that's one of the big dangers of this, because you need to be in a big blobby formation. Because if your men are outside of the little bitty circle that applies fast charge, you know, they have to be inside that small gold circle when you click on it. If they're outside of it, they don't get the effect, and it's more brutal if you can get this on all your units. So if you did start the battle, I expect that you should start it back from your deployment zone a little bit, just in case your opponent brings artillery. You'll be far enough back that he'll have to move into range, and it would give you time to use fast charge and spread out before he can open up with artillery fire, because it will make you extremely vulnerable to artillery. Okay, again, look at fast charge. See this yellow circle that pops up? Make sure that before you click, you have to use fast charge on a unit. And whatever units are near the one that you use it on are the ones that are going to be affected. So use it on a unit to where all of your units are going to be affected. So see here how all my units are within the circle? That would be how I want to use it. Whoops, wrong button. Oops, also wrong button. Alright. I'm going to wait just a second. Actually, we can go ahead and show it to you now because I don't really intend on beating the Romans here. I just used fast charge, and I'm going to wait just a second. So again, 15 seconds it takes for fast charge to get into phase 2. You can actually see the little timer here, how it's counting down on the little green circle. Now it's into phase 2, and that's how much time you have to engage the enemy, and it's quite a bit of time. I didn't time it. Look at that charge bonus. 70 charge on Wolf Warriors, 72 on Wolf Warriors, or on Swordmasters, and 91 on Berserkers. Well, look, you can use Frenzy on these guys too. Now the charge... Or whoops, I used Shield Wall. You can use Frenzy. Now their charge will go up even more. So look at this, 80 charge on Swordmasters, 104 on Berserkers. And then you can use Headhunt on these units too. So look, if I pop Headhunt, and then if I use Pride, look at the stats here. 45 weapon damage on Wolf Warriors, 69 weapon damage, 104 charge with the 20 bonus versus infantry on Berserkers, 58 attack for Swordmasters, 70 weapon damage. This is brutal, folks. And again, if you use Frenzied Charge along with that special charge ability, look, it takes these guys up to like 90, or no, it's already worn off, but it would have been like 90-something charge. So anyway, we don't need to fight this. This is just for me to demonstrate to you just how big of a boost you're going to get to your statistics if you use these in the proper order. Now, why am I using a Wodenaz Spear as the Suebi General? I do that because the Wodenaz Spear has a pretty good shield and decent armor, plus it's a very cheap unit to have the Encourage ability. It also can protect itself from cavalry. You could put it in a Swordmaster. I do not recommend that you put it in a Noble Rider because they're going to have to be at more risk. At least I think they will if you use the type of strategy that I do. Now there's going to be some different takes on how you can build armies. Let me show you a large funds recommendation that I have, and this is the one that you'll see me use against a human opponent. I took 4 Wolf Warriors, 2 Berserkers, I took 3 Longbow Hunters, and there's 2 reasons for this. One is the Flaming Arrows can make a fight go in your favor faster, and 2 is if your opponent brings elephants, you've got to have these bows to have any prayer of not getting raffle stomped. I bring 4 Spear Levy, and these guys are not typically very good, but when they're under the influence of that fast charge and pride, or any of those others, plus cavalry counter tactics, they actually become pretty viable. Plus, you really just need them to help slow down enemy cavalry or advances on your flank. At this point, I also bring 4 Noble Riders, because you want some strong cavalry to be able to protect your men. Now with your last little bit of money, you can vary it up, you can do what you want with it. I like bringing a Germanic Scout Rider just to have 1 extra unit of cavalry to potentially go after skirmishers or anything else that I think it needs. You can put your upgrades on your Spear Levy, you can put them on your Wolf Warriors. I would put them on the Wolf Warriors just because I think they're going to do more good versus the opponent's infantry corps. Now, where is this army going to be good and where is it going to be weak? You obviously cannot charge this army into the front of pikes. If your opponent brings a pike box, you'd be screwed. If your opponent brings pikes, but it's not a box, use the fast charge and the speed from that to get around their flank and start an engagement on their flank. Leave a few token units, maybe like these Berserkers or some Spear Levy, to where when the pikes turn to face your infantry, you can charge them from behind with another unit. This gives you a lot of options, this army does. These Noble Riders are pretty strong against infantry in a charge, they're pretty strong against cavalry in most situations, and especially when they have those general's abilities used on them. And they're also pretty good at slowing down elephants. Not an ideal use for them, but it can definitely be done. And again, you have spears to help slow down enemy cav, and your general's in a spear unit that's also got a decent shield, so it makes him a little less vulnerable to skirmishers. So this is why, this is an army that I would pick with them. You can modify this army a little bit. If you want a Swordmaster, you could change things up a little bit, bring a Swordmaster. You could bring, you could just change it up a little. You could bring less Noble Riders and maybe throw more Berserkers in and some light cav to make up the difference. But, of course, you'd be a little weaker in cav, but sometimes that matters, sometimes it doesn't. Just giving you some ideas on how to throw this. Now, again, this is the army that I use right here in the battle against my opponent. And I'm going to go show you this battle. And if you do these types of battles right, they're going to be short battles. Now, some of you hate short battles in Rome 2, but honestly, some battles in Rome 2 are just short. Because skirmishing doesn't play out quite the same as it does in other Total Wars. So it just generally takes a shorter amount of time for a battle whenever you get into a melee grind, especially if someone comes with a plan, kind of like I do here. Now look at my opponent's army. 5 Peltist, 1 Royal Peltist, 4 Thorax Swords, 2 Citizen Cav, 2 Ptolemaic Cav, and an Elephant. This is a rather small army, but it's a rather capable army. Now that is quite a few Peltists, probably more than I would think most people want to bring. But Peltists can cause some pretty severe damage to infantry. So although I think my opponent would have been better with a little more infantry and a couple of fewer Peltists, this is what he's chosen to do. Plus he has elephants, and it doesn't hurt to have a pretty good number of Peltists to be able to defeat any potential skirmishers I could bring. But yeah. And he puts his Royal Peltist behind his Thorax Swords. He's got his Thorax Swords in a nice line, and then he's got 1 Citizen Cav, 1 Ptolemaic Cav, and then his elephants are supporting 1 flank as well. This is a pretty decent setup here. I mean, obviously he could put his elephants in the center if he wants to just countercharge my infantry, but I have a plan for this. Now let me show you my formation. This is the insane Horde Formation. This is I don't know if you all have invented this. If so, hopefully I'm not stealing your bit here, but yes, this is the giant blob Horde Formation. You might be like, Air, seriously, what is this crap? This is all done for a reason. My general's right here in the center. Remember that small yellow circle that Pride and Fast Charge work in? I got all my units inside that little circle. Where? What if your opponent brought artillery? Nah, that's why I deployed. So the actual deployment area was somewhere up here, or actually it's a little further. I deployed back from it so that I couldn't immediately be in his range. And if he had it, of course I would back up. So, Air, what are you doing? You're just sitting there camping. Exactly. I have to camp for at least a minute until that those abilities become available on my general. So again, I'm biding my time. Yes, I have kind of a rushy army. Check it out, my blob trying to move forward, all running over each other. The Germanic blob formation. Beware of it. It's actually a lot more threatening than it looks. Now, is this army a silver bullet? Is it going to beat everybody? Absolutely not. Elephants are a great unit to bring against this type of army. If you use them right, it can definitely derail it. Now, this army does have the ability to slow down elephants, though, and you'll see me try to do that here, and we'll see how that turns out. As you can see, though, my opponent's moving forward in a somewhat cautious manner, just like he should be, probably wondering why I'm sitting here in a stupid blob. Alright, there we go. Pop fast charge. Now I know I have 15 seconds, so I start giving orders. I'm sending my cavalry forward first, my wolf warriors. I'm going to keep my general right behind my wolf warriors. And look, I've got a light cav going to one flank too. And then I've got my bowman coming up very last to try and stay away from his cav. Now, again, let's go into slow motion. Why am I bringing my cavalry up first? Well, two reasons. One, if his elephants think they want to make a beeline for my infantry, I'm going to intercept them with my cavalry. Yes, this will burn out time, and I'll lose my fast charge bonus probably, but at least my men won't get killed by elephants. So at this point, I'm going to immediately charge my cavalry. And look, they already have 86 charge bonus, and then I pop Frenzied Charge. And again, that charge bonus is from the Fast Charge ability. So look, now I have 98 charge bonus with my Noble Horseman, and even my cheap Germanic Scout Rider has a 64 charge bonus. I did not use Pride yet because it doesn't last as long, and I want to use it on my infantry. Theoretically, you could use it on all of your guys, but it's trickier. So here comes the charge. See my Noble Riders into Ptolemaic Cav, and then into Citizen Cav. So even against the Ptolemaic Cav, which normally wins a charge pretty heftily, my men start cutting down the Ptolemaic Cav rather quickly. His elephants are going to charge into my cavalry. I'm going to bog them down with an extra unit of cav, plus I'm getting a really good strong charge bonus. Now look, his elephants are bogged down, my bowmen are now in range, and then I'm going to send every last one of my spear units up here. And I do make one mistake here. I put the counter cavalry tactics ability on AI control, meaning the AI was supposed to use it for me. They don't use it all the time, and it's frustrating. I don't know why. So I don't use cavalry counter tactics here. That's a big mistake, but at least you can see how this works. Now all of his cavalry is pinned down, and it's pinned down on this flank as well. And look at this. Germanic Scout Rider's actually whipping up quite a few kills on Citizen Cav. And now look at this. This is exactly what I want. My infantry are now freed. Notice that here I just used the Pride ability. Now I was a little slow here, so my fast charge actually ran out. I should have had my infantry closer before I used fast charge, but at least it worked with my cavalry. So now I'm going to charge forward. All four of my infantry are just picking a thorax swordsman, and then my berserkers are going to hit a flank. So to get just a little bit of an outflanking penalty going on my opponent. Let's get play, see how this works. I also pop Headhunt right before the battle, just to make sure my men are going to be at maximum damage potential. My opponent's only able to get off one volley of javelins at first, so he doesn't get a ton of kills, and now he doesn't have the best angle on my men. He'll still get some kills, but it won't be as severe. Because this fight goes so handily for me, I can immediately peel off a Noble Rider, and now all of his Peltists are under threat. These guys could potentially help turn the fight, but again, see that charge? Even without fast charge, Germanic units have a strong charge. And with those bonuses of the extra weapon damage, you can see how quickly they can mop up enemy units. You saw me do it even against Evocati cohorts, so Thorax Swordsmen certainly don't stand a chance. Now, Evocati cohort would certainly have been harder to knock down here. But again, let me just show you an overhead. See, I got the outflanking, his skirmishers are under control, his infantry routes, and the whole time his elephants were pinned down, getting shot with arrows, and they get destroyed. The heavy cavalry can help pin down elephants. But you need to put those spears in there as well to give the extra support. Your cavalry can do a whole lot of work here. I just beat Ptolemaic Cav head-on with Noble Riders. Now, maybe that's a frequent occurrence, I don't know. But Ptolemaic Cav are pretty strong, and they have a pretty powerful charge. But hands down, my cavalry just won the charge there. I don't think my opponent got a trample charge back against me, but even if he had, it would have been his charge bonus was about equal with my guys, except that Noble Riders actually have the expert charge defense ability too, which makes their attack go even higher when they're being charged. So, I mean, this is an example of how this army could work. I think it could work against Rome. It could certainly work against other barbarian factions. I think your biggest threat is one of two things. Elephants is number one, armored elephants in particular, because you saw it actually took my bowmen quite a while to take down those elephants. Armored elephants would be even more dangerous. If you bog them down properly and get your bowmen a good shot, you should have it. Now, a couple of keys here. You'll notice that the cav on both flanks, I tied it down where it couldn't get to my infantry or to my skirmishers. It's extremely important that you use your cavalry to keep your infantry from being charged by enemy cavalry. If you want to take out one of these Suebi armies, there's a couple, just like I did, the best ways to do it are, number one, if the people are in Blob formation close enough and you have artillery, you're going to absolutely cause hundreds of casualties with a hit. But that's kind of risky, because if you bring the artillery and then they spread out, you will have spent money on it, and now you're probably going to be in bad shape because you're going to have to try and protect that artillery from a crazed rush army of Suebi warriors. Now, I'm not saying it won't work, I'm just saying that's one way you could go. I think elephants are the better way, and if I were my opponent, I would have wanted to keep my elephants behind my infantry line. Now, it's not the best thing to do to charge them through your own infantry, but at least at that point, it would be harder for me to try and bog his elephants down, and he could potentially do more damage. But I would have kept my cavalry in front of my infantry all the way till the last second if he would have kept his elephants behind his line. And what I would have done, probably, to be honest, if he would have kept his elephants behind his infantry, I probably would have just gone ahead and just charged my cavalry straight into his infantry, and then sent spears down either flank to try and pin down his cavalry. I would have kept maybe my light cav and one noble rider unit out on the flank, again, just to try and keep his cavalry off me. Then, 2 or 3 noble riders to tie down his infantry body in the center, because I need to get him to want to engage those elephants so I can start taking shots at them with my bowmen. You have to be very careful. Now, there's a couple of reasons why doing something like that, though, could still potentially benefit your opponent, because if they let that fast charge ability run out, it's going to make your guys slightly less damaging. Think about how much more damaging these guys would have been if I would have timed it a little better, and the fast charge ability would have still been in play when my wolf warriors made their charge. They would have absolutely annihilated those thorax swordsmen in probably under 15 seconds. So that's the best way to use these guys. It is tricky. There's a lot of timing, there's a lot of clicking, and you got to do some fast planning and quick reaction with this army. It's not going to work out every time, but I do think it's a lot of fun. Anyway, I've done a lot of talking. Hopefully you all found this informative. Help me name this strategy series or whatever it is, where we can talk through certain strategies and armies to use. If you like it, if you don't like it, I won't pester you with it again. Yeah, if you all have some ideas for this, so let's say you do like it, you help me come up with a name, we keep it going. If you have ideas for this strategy series, tell me which faction and which army you think is a good choice and why you think it's a good strategy. I'll take a look into it, or I'll come up with some of my own, and who knows, maybe I'll be able to show it. I won't get to show everybody's probably, but I think we could go through a pretty good few of them, and it'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, again, hope you all found this informative. Let me know what you think. HeirofCarthage, signing off for now.